This is The Process Shot. I'm Michael, I'm a bit lost, and I've seen Glass Shadows, a short experimental film from director Holly Fisher made back in 1976. The film is essentially a collection of short shots inside of what appears to be the director's studio, foregoing any narrative pretense and simply focusing on what is in front of the camera. That being the shadows within the studio, the light coming from its windows, and the reflection of the filmmaker in a pane of glass. Obviously, there's no story to talk about, and it's also not entirely clear if there are any sorts of themes being expressed within the short. As a result, there isn't too much to talk about, at least outside of technical details. That said, Glass Shadows does at least have some intriguing elements to bring up, most of all the obvious contrast between light and shadow. There's a very low exposure going on here that makes images seen through the studio's windows clear and visible, but puts everything within the studio itself in complete darkness, resulting in some objects being identifiable only by limited highlights and shadowy outlines. The film's use of reflection within glass adds another layer to these images, both literally in its double image and figuratively in how it reminds the viewer at times that there is a person operating a camera in this room, adding some sense of life to the scene despite there being little action at all going on. The use of reflection is given some additional metaphor when double exposure is put to use, and the film itself effectively begins to repeat its own imagery. Outside of these visual ideas, there's a loop of a leaking faucet that can be heard throughout Glass Shadows, which doesn't seem to add anything, but does push the viewer to tune it out and watch the film instead. Overall, though, I imagine the point is less about that sort of detail and more about the exploration of space, or a lack thereof, and the visual sense of infinity that can be found in such shadows, or something like that. I don't really have much to go off of here, after all. Glass Shadows. Holly Fisher, 1976. 2.5 stars. I'd still say that it's worth giving a watch, given how interesting the visuals are. That's it for this review. If you liked it, leave a like. If you didn't, leave a comment. As always, subscribe to the channel for more reviews. I suppose this is another short review, but at least I have a good excuse this time.